Hey, welcome to our Sculpey Live webinar. Please come on in and join us. We'll give just a couple minutes for people to come in. Thank you for joining us. And please, maybe if you want to, you could tell us where you're from in the Q&A section. Jen is monitoring the Q&A today, and she's going to let me know if people have important questions. So come on in, let us know where you're from. We'll get settled, and then I'll start the project as soon as Jen gives me the go-ahead. So I'm glad you're here. Like I said before, welcome in, and please tell us where you're from in the Q&A if you want to. And I'm looking forward to teaching this class. We've got a lot of great techniques that are going to come up, and we're going to answer questions and talk about the designs and what you can do with both Liquid Sculpey and Sculpey 3. So we're glad you're here.
Oh, Tucson, Arizona.
Tucson, welcome.
Alabama.
Alabama, thanks for joining us. All right, Jen, just let me know when you want me to start.
Yeah, let's just get started. And
Okay.
Come in, they can just kind of join.
All right, thanks for showing up today to Sculpey Live, Trim the Tree. I'm Amy Karanik. I'm a Sculpey brand ambassador, and I'm so glad to be here with you. I'm in the Sculpey Design Studio today for this live class. So today we are making items that ultimately will trim your tree, but maybe in the meantime could be used as a decorative package ornament as well. We are going to take a look at making this classic ribbon candy ornament out of Sculpey 3, and we're using Sculpey 3 in white glitter and red hot red. So I'll show you that project first. And then we're going to take a look at making an assortment of ornaments that are made with liquid Sculpey. And these were made in a big mold that we bought online. Now, you might not have this exact same snowflake mold, and that's okay, because you're going to learn so many tips and tricks for using molds. And even if you don't have this specific mold, I'll help you with some tips and tricks to use any mold that you do have. And like I said before, please ask us questions in the Q&A, and Jen will let me know when I need to stop and address any of your concerns. So with that said, let's get started crafting. So first off, we are going to use red hot red and glitter white in Sculpey 3. Now this is the ornament that we're making, and it's a traditional ribbon candy shape, and then we just embellished it with some little crystals and added a ribbon for hanging it from your tree. And I want to give you some tips and tricks for using red and white together, because red and white, they are famous colors that get used together a lot, especially at the holiday time, but they're also famous for kind of conflicting with each other. And so I want to give you some tips on how to handle your white so that it doesn't turn pink from the red, and likewise your red so that it doesn't get dulled by the white. So first, let me tell you how much clay I'm using. This is a 2-ounce block of Sculpey 3, and Sculpey 3 comes in a bar that's divided into 4 equal sections right out of the machine that makes it. And I'm using 1/4 of a bar. And from that 1/4, we are going to be able to make 2 ornaments. So first thing I did was condition my clay by hand, and now I'm just rolling it to a long piece that's it's less than 1/4 of an inch thick, but not quite an 1/8. And that basically gives me the span of my silicone mat that I have here from angle to angle. So I'm going to roll the white one out first, and now I'm rolling the red one equally. Let me make sure I'm in the camera, and you guys chime in if I get off the screen, because that happens from time to time. So Sculpey 3 is really soft and pliable. It's great for beginners to oven bake polymer clay because it's soft and easy to use right out of the package. So great way to do crafts with younger people. And first I'm just pulling these and stretching and rolling them to about the same length and the same thickness. So that's my goal, is to get them kind of the same. Now here's a tip that I use, is to always clean my hands between colors. And I'm using baby wipes just to get some of that red hot red off my fingertips. And I'm going to give you some more tips as well. But if you keep baby wipes or even paper towels close by, you can get a lot of that staining off your hands. Okay, now my next tip is this. I'm always going to keep my white rope above, and I'm always going to keep my red rope below. So with my white one above and my red one below, I'm going to pinch these together. And what's happening is if I always keep the white one on top, it's always being touched by my index finger. And if I always keep the red one below, it's always being touched by my thumb. And the same thing with this hand. And that way I'm not transferring the red from my thumb to the white on the top. Okay, so now I'm going to cut this in half. I'm just going to use a blade and I'm just going to eye it. And I'm going to bring this section of the rope down here. Let me move better into the middle. And I didn't quite get it exact, so I'll just stretch it a little bit to fit. Now again, I'm using my thumb at the red and my index finger at the white, and I'm pinching these together. Okay, then if I can just give it a little pull and help it stretch. And this pinching motion that I'm doing is not only making them connect to each other, but it's also kind of making this rope of candy a little bit thinner. Now, when I look at my computer screen, this one here looks pink, but in real life, it doesn't look pink to me. So I don't know what's going on with that. I promise it's not pink. But see how every time I touch it, I have my index finger on top with the white and I have my thumb on bottom with the red. Oops. We'll just pretend like I didn't pinch that off there. And I want to get one more. You know what? I'm going to stick it back on because I want that length of clay. So I'm just going to stick that back together. Okay, now I'm going to cut this in half again, right down the middle. I'm just eyeing it and resectioning it one more time. And here again, I've got the white on the top and the red on the bottom. And if I flip it over and pinch from the other direction, I still have the red on the bottom and the white on the top. And then I've got this little bobble right here, but I'm hoping to hide that little bobble when I do my candy design. Okay. Now the next thing I want to do is roll this a little flatter so that it will, so that I can make this intricate curling back and forth shape. So I'm going to use our acrylic roller to roll that just a little bit flatter. It's going to start on one end and roll toward the other, like so. And I'm going to flip it over end to end and do it again on the back. And this stretches it just a bit. I'm going to do that one more time because I want to get it pretty skinny so that I can make two of these candies. If at all possible, I'd like to make two of them. All right, now I'm just going to give it one more pinch just to make sure everything is connecting together well. Okay, now right here, I really do have some pink happening, and I'm going to show you how to troubleshoot that pink that's on the white. So I'm going to take a cotton swab and just a little bit of alcohol. This is rubbing alcohol. I'm going to get my cotton swab wet. And then I can just gently wipe that pink off of there. The cotton swab doused in rubbing alcohol will remove that right from the upper surface of the clay, right where that was pink. See all that red that came off on my cotton swab? So that just shows you how, even with practicing good technique, I'm still going to get a little bit of staining now and then with the red and the white being used together. So that alcohol tip is really handy for removing that. And then I'm cleaning my hands again. Clean and clean and clean. Okay. So next we want to start with our bending, our intricate bending. And the way I did it was to use a knitting needle. And this knitting needle looks to me to be at least 1/8 of an inch thick, if not more toward, I don't think it's 1/4 of an inch thick, and I don't know the knitting needle sizes, but it's pretty, it's kind of thick. So what I want to do is drape my candy over the knitting needle, and that gives you a really nice rounded edge right there. And that's what we're looking for, is that pretty edge. I find that when I tried to make these without having something to bend over, that my curly cues weren't very pretty. So now I'm going backwards. I just keep moving my needle back and forth. And I want to check it from the edge, because what I want is for those little right here where they come back in contact, I want to make sure that the clay is touching itself. And I'm going to examine that from both sides before I go on. And then I keep using my needle to make those pretty bends, like so. Bending back and forth and back and forth. Also, if you have our etch and pearl tools, you could use the thickest one of the etch and pearl tools to go back and forth, like so. And I just keep going.
How thick
Yes.
is the clay that you rolled out?
So the clay, I have this clay right here.
Mhm.
That is a good question. I would say it's a little bit under 1/8 of an inch thick.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you had a pasta machine that you use for clay, and you wanted to run your whole strip through the pasta machine, that would be the #1 setting on your machine. And I think that that's a good thickness for Sculpey 3. Like if you were making these out of souffle or primo oven baked clays, you could go a lot thinner. But because this project was designed around using Sculpey 3, I'm gonna make it a little thicker, closer to 1/8 of an inch thick, just for the strength. And I'm just going back and forth and back and forth. And I got like one more wrap here. Okay, at the top and at the bottom, if you want to, you could, like this one, kind of the bottom edge is kind of messy. So I'm just going to use my blade to cut that off neat. And then on this end, I'm just going to tuck that kind of in to the top. Okay, now that made a super long ribbon candy. And so what I'm going to do is cut that in half and make 2 ribbon candies. And one reason I'm cutting it in half is because I have to consider how I'm going to finish it into an ornament. And so a really easy way to finish this into an ornament is to use head pins. And that's what this is. This is a 2-inch head pin. It's got a head on one end and then a long, even silver, like needle-like shaft, but it's not pointy on the end. It's just a blunt piece. So because 2-inch head pins are easy to get and easy to use, I want to keep my ribbon candy a little bit smaller. So I'm going to open this up right kind of at the middle there, and I'm just going to cut it in half with a blade. And that gives me 2 ribbon candies instead of one long one. And then where I cut it, I just want to kind of finesse that with my fingers and make it look really nice and neat. And if you smashed any of your little curls, you could go back and kind of open those up at this point. And this one here, I want to make sure that little cut edge looks really pretty. Okay, so now we need this to have a hole in it so that after we bake it, it can be assembled like this one. So what I want to do is go ahead and run my head pin through here. And I'm just running it through as straight as I can. And what I did was I kind of wiggled it through, and then once I felt it poke my finger, I put my finger right where I wanted it to come through. And for some reason, your body, when you're poking a wire through like that, it will just find your finger if you just put it in exactly the right place. And then I'll just pull that in. Now I want to bake this with the head pin in place so that there's a hole all the way through the ribbon candy. It would be really hard to get a hole through there after baking. So do it before you bake and do it to both those pieces. Then what you'll have afterwards is your little ribbon that's all baked. It's completely done. And I've got some more head pins. And so what I'll do is just poke this back through the hole that I had before and make sure the hole's still open. but I want to add just some little sparkle to my finished piece. So I'm going to do that now. I used fairly inexpensive plastic beads for my finished decor. And because I used plastic beads, I didn't want to put those in the oven. Now, if you used glass beads or metal beads, those could go right in the oven with the head pin, but I used clear plastic beads. So first I'm stringing on a tiny silver seed bead, and I'm going to put that all the way down to the head. The reason I use this seed bead is because this clear green plastic bead that I used, it has kind of a large hole, and I didn't want that hole to slip off that tiny head in the head pin. So I'm using this seed bead to kind of anchor the bead from going over the head pin. And then I'm going to add on a clear plastic piece like that. And then I'm just going to push that back through the hole. Now, this is also very important, which I didn't mention before. Before you go to baking, you want to make sure that your head pin is going to have enough room for your beads, and then you need enough room on this end to curl a loop. And let me show you how to curl a loop. So I have some round nose pliers here, and all I have to do is grab the tip of the head pin, and I'll try to turn this so you can see. I'm going to grab the tip of the head pin. I'm pulling these all the way tight, and then I just curl it down like so toward the candy. And then once you get so far, you can get a new grip with your round nose pliers and turn some more. And I just turn it all the way down. It's even making, it's actually closing the loop up on itself because I have enough wire there to do so. And then that gives me a really great place to add my ribbon like this one, or you can even add a jump ring there if you wanted to, and then add the ribbon to the jump ring, whatever works best for you. So that is just a cute and traditional little ribbon candy. I love that design, and it would be fun to make and fun to give. All right, if there's no more questions about the ribbon candy, and that was the Sculpey 3 in Red Hot Red and Glitter White that I used. We will move on to some fun with liquid Sculpey. So I have this big, beautiful mold that Jen found online. And sometimes we like to use other people's molds just to show how versatile liquid Sculpey is. This is a silicone mold, and most silicone, you'll find silicone molds in this clear color, in a pink color. Sometimes there's an aqua color. They have to be silicone to make sure they can withstand the heat of the oven. So what I have here is, I've already filled this mold, and these two are ready to come out. They've already been baked in here, but I want to show you how to demold, and that will get our mold empty. And then I'll show you how to fill the mold. So with silicone molds, all you have to do is flex the mold back and then just gently pull the piece out. And here's a beautiful gold. This is a clear, it's actually clear liquid Sculpey that's been filled with a chunky gold glitter. So that one's really pretty. Here's another one that I did with that same color, but in a different pattern. And then this is our 3-color, kind of an ombre snowflake that I did. And you just flex the mold and get that going and pull it right out. So these are a little bit flexible, even after they're baked, but that they do have enough strength to stand on their own, but they're also somewhat flexible. Now, I also want to show you before we move on, because we're talking about finishing a bit. If you get areas where you have a little bit of baked on liquid, you can that's kind of escaped the mold, you can easily trim that with craft scissors. And that's what I do to make sure they look really neat and really sharp. So I'm sorry that we had to start at the end and work backwards, but I wanted you to see how to demold before I fill the same cavities with fresh liquid, so that you know how they're going to come out of the oven. So once they are out, then all I did was add a ribbon, and I just used the natural holes that are in the mold design, and that's where I inserted the ribbons. Okay, let's start with the ombre one first. And I'm just picking out little bits of the liquid Sculpey that stayed maybe down in there. And so what I did for this ombre one is I have pearl in the middle. And so what I did was just start right in the middle with my pearl liquid Sculpey. and just kind of filling the largest areas first. And in the same way in each of the 6 points of the snowflake. Now I have already stirred and stirred and stirred my liquids off camera, and liquid Sculpey needs to be carefully stirred before you use it. And I've already done that. And to stir liquid Sculpey, you just want to remove the entire lid and just take a needle, some sort of a tool. You could use your etch and pearls, or you could use knitting needles, whatever will reach down in there and just stir that product up and get it waking up and ready to play. So, and it's just like paint or lots of other mediums. It needs and wants to be stirred. Okay, so now I'm going to go in with my peacock pearl, and I'm actually going to start out here at this bigger area and just dabbing this in to each of the centers of these outers. These are like 6 snowflakes hooked together to the bigger snowflake in the middle. And I like to start with these bigger areas and kind of let the liquid flow on its own. So that's what I'm doing, is just putting it in some areas where I know it will kind of start to spread. Now I can come back with my pearl again and go right back in where those bigger areas are and flood those, and it'll start floating its way toward the peacock pearl. I love that there's so many silicone molds that are available. We have our own silicone molds that are available through Sculpey.com. And but also there's so many molds, like in the fondant department of baking, you know, like the baking department, you can get fondant molds, which are typically silicone. You can get soap making molds, which are typically silicone. All kinds of home decor molds for resin and for lots of projects. And because silicone molds are so readily available now, it just opens the doors wide up to being able to create so many different types of craft projects with silicone molds, and they're completely reusable. And not only you can use them with liquid Sculpey, but you can continue to use them with your resin or with whatever types of crafts you do that are molded. This is navy metallic, and I'm squirting it into all the larger areas on the outermost rim. And I'll just continue to flood those areas and let the liquid spread itself. Now, after I go around with this navy metallic, I'm going to give the mold a few taps and help these liquids start to spread on their own. So let's tap the mold a bit just by, I pick it up pretty high off the work surface and just let it plunk down. When I was a child, I used to do a lot of chocolate making with liquid chocolate in molds. And that was a method that I learned even way back then for making chocolate, was that you would tap, 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 tap your mold and help the chocolate spread into all the little details and help it move around on its own, because that's the best way to fill up the entire mold. So I'm just really flooding these bigger areas and letting it reach out. And then I'm going to go in here and start flooding this area. I think the pearl is about as full as it can get. So just helping the other colors want to reach out and stretch into each other. And then we'll tap again. Then you'll just want to go back and look for areas that aren't very full and just add more liquid to those. Now, if you get this overflowing, sometimes in my studio, I'll keep like old hotel key cards or old credit cards. Those make excellent squeegees for liquid Sculpey. And you can, if you get too overflowing, you can always take a plastic key card or old credit card and squeegee the surface of the back of the mold and help remove some of that excess liquid. So we'll do another tap again. Now, another thing you want to look for is if there's any air bubbles that are surfacing. And I actually don't see any air bubbles in this one surfacing. But if they do, just get right in there and poke them with a needle tool and help those bubbles pop, and then go back to your tapping process. Okay, so this one would need to get baked following the baking instructions for liquid Sculpey. And then when it comes out, it would look like this. Now, here's another trick I did with this one that is already also baked. And on this one, I put these little beads of silver liquid Sculpey on after it was baked. And I did the same thing here. I'm going to see if you can see it better on here. This ornament or tag is all pearl. And then after it was baked, I went back and put these little beads of silver just as a highlight. And let me show you how I did that. So what you can do, this silver that I have right here is particularly thick. And so you can just drop a little drop of the silver right in place. And then you'll want to bake it again to set the silver. Now, if your silver is particularly runny, what you can do is you can actually preheat your ornament, like you've baked it and set it. And then if you want to reheat it in your oven and get it hot, and then when you drop these little silver dots, that will cause the silver to not run. It will actually make the little silver dots cure right in place if you put them on a hot ornament. But if you want to try that method, I just want you to be super careful and use hand protection if you're handling, an ornament that's been reheated. And then this would get baked again, and then you've got those cute little silver dots on top that add a little more texture to your project. All right, Jen, how much time do we have?
We're good.
We're doing good?
27, yeah.
Okay, great. All right, what I want to show you next is how I used clear liquid Sculpey, and I used some glitters to make an entirely different look. So I think what I'm going to do is maybe fill this one, and that's how this one looks. These are both clear liquid Sculpey with a gold chunky glitter, and this one is too. And so I want to show you how I did that. So clear liquid Sculpey is a totally different type of liquid Sculpey than even our colors. And the reason is because it's the only one that goes completely clear when it's baked. And so when you use clear liquid Sculpey, you can leave it in the bottle if you want, and you've got to get something way down in there and stir and stir and stir. Or sometimes I like to pour it out in an open cup like I've done here. This is a silicone baking cupcake cup. And you want to stir and stir and stir. Sometimes your clear liquid will feel like it has thick parts and thin parts, and you just need to get those completely reincorporated. That's what helps the clear go completely clear during baking, is good technique of taking good care of your liquid. So this is ready to go. It's all the same consistency, and I put it in this. I put mine in this cup because I wanted to show you how you can mix glitter in. And I didn't want to mix the glitter into my whole bottle of clear liquid. So I just wanted to kind of show you how it works. And this is a really pretty glitter from Nola, Mr. Nola's glitter. I want to make sure I said that right. Yeah, Mr. Nola's glitter. And this color is called Ellen. And if you read any of my tutorials that I post on the Sculpey.com website, you might notice how often I use this glitter, because until it's all gone, I'm just going to be using it a lot. I love it because it has different size chunks in it, and some of the chunks are solid gold and some of the chunks are iridescent. So when it bakes into the clear liquid, it just gives a really, really beautiful shine. Okay, so I've mixed in, you saw how much I mixed in. I covered the whole surface of the clear, but I think I'm going to go even a little bit further and add a little bit more, because when I did this before, I kind of wanted the clear liquid to kind of look like it turned gold just from the total amount of glitter that I mixed in. So I added probably about the same amount again.
Hey, Amy, can you talk about some other stuff that you can mix in besides glitter?
Yes, besides glitter, you can add in mica powders. You can add in alcohol inks. I even have some other examples. This one has foil glitter in it, and the foil glitter was sort of stick shaped, for lack of a better word. And so I used a different color glitter in each of the prongs of the snowflake. That's foil glitter there. This one has really, really chunky mica powder in it. I have even tried putting chunky salt in my liquid Sculpey before. This one has foil glitter, but only on the back. And I let the foil glitter kind of take up the space. I didn't put it on there cleanly. I let the foil glitter actually fill up all the little holes in the snowflake. And so that gave a different look. And then this one has seed beads. This one is just full. I wish you guys could, can you see that? This is full of red and green seed beads that I had harbored for another day. And so that's what's in this one. You can also put those, there's like these teeny tiny marble shaped beads. Those work well in liquid Sculpey. Am I forgetting anything, Jen?
No, I think that's good.
Did I say enough?
I think you did.
I have a tendency to ramble, and everyone knows this. So, okay, that looks pretty good to me. It's pretty golden looking. I know it doesn't look that golden from your vantage point, but to me it looks, I can really see the gold glitter in there. Now, another good thing about these little silicone cups is that they're flexible. And so what I want to do is just flex a little spout right here, and then I'm just going to hover over my design, and I'm going to start getting this down in all the biggest areas first. All the biggest openings, I should say. And out here are some bigger, and it looks a little messy, but it'll go down in there and you'll be happy with it. But I think liquid Sculpey speaks to all kinds of crafters, where sometimes you can do it really neat and organized like that one. And then sometimes you can be a little more freeform and messy. And when we're talking about mimicking a snowflake, which is a crystalline structure, I think it's okay to be, you know, a little bit messier with this type of design, because it's very natural and organic looking. So just putting that in all the biggest areas first. And now we're going to take a break from the dripping, and we're going to do some tapping. And when I tap this one, it's also tapping that one. So that's helping release any trapped air bubbles that might still be over there. And I do find every now and then that if I let my mold sit for a few minutes before it goes right into the oven, that you will see little air bubbles surface, and that gives you an opportunity to pop those. And, you know, sometimes just the resting will help air bubbles come to the top. So, all right, I'm just going to keep going here, and I'm getting a little bit loosey-goosey with this, but that's okay. I'll show you how to take care of that in just a second. So this has some fine details that I want to make sure they get filled with the liquid too. So there we go. All right, we're going to tap some more. Okay, once the tapping is done, I'm going to come back in here with this little purple clay tool that has this nice flat edge, and I'm just going to start directing that liquid Sculpey right where I want it. Like maybe there's some areas that need a little more. And it's also just scraping the liquid Sculpey off the surface of the mold and just putting it right where we want it. So I think I can hide all of that liquid Sculpey in the lower areas if I just keep working at it. And then this way you can also look for areas where you might need to add a little bit more liquid. And then you could fill those up. So that looks really good. And we could certainly bake both of these at once whenever we're ready. And you would just need to follow the baking instructions for liquid Sculpey. Now, clear liquid Sculpey bakes at a little bit higher temperature than the colors of liquid Sculpey, but I find that it's no problem to bake those together. I just always go with the hotter temperature of the clear because I want my clear to go really clear, and I've never had it harm the higher temperature. I've never had it harm my colorful liquid Sculpey. So I think that's the best way to go, is to err on the side of the clear temperature. So let me show you another way that I finished one of these. After it was baked and I flexed it out of the mold, I just went back, and maybe if I put something white behind this, you can see it better. I went back with our translucent turquoise and filled up the little open cavities and then baked it again. And so I thought that was a really pretty way to finish another one. I've already showed you the rainbow one is super pretty. I left those open, and the way I did this one, let's talk about how that was done, because it's a little bit more intricate. So Jen, how much time do I have now?
It's only 5:35.
Okay, so I'll just show you how I did this because we have time to talk about it. I did all 6 colors at once, and that was a little tricky, but I'm going to show you how I did it. So I'm going to grab my glitters, and like I said, these are foil glitters. And they're super duper shiny, which I love, because if you're going to shine, you might as well do it super duper well, right? And so I'm just going to go ahead and use this leftover clear with the gold in it that I have, just to show you how this works. So what I did was I just started filling the different areas and the big areas first. I don't know that I can do the whole thing, but I'll show you as much as possible and you'll get the idea. So I'm doing the biggest areas. Let me get better on the camera. And that's going to be all of my glitterized clear. I'm just going to scrape some of this out, put it right in the middle. This was kind of a crazy way that I did this, but I thought it turned out really good. And then I have a little bit of the clear liquid still in the bottle. I'm just going to open the bottle all the way up and squirt in the gaps. And this, like I said, has already been stirred, so it's good to go. It just doesn't have the glitter in it. So maybe I could stir it a little bit more. I can feel it's a little bit clogged. So I'm going to go back in here. Even though I said it was stirred great, I'm going to go back in here and stir it some more. And actually, I think I have another clear over here that's pretty well stirred. Yeah, I've got another clear. I just want to have more of this liquid to spread around and show you what I did. That other bottle felt pretty empty. All right, so that one stirred up really well. And I'm just going to keep adding the clear to the shape. So for this style, which has the different colors of foils in each leg of the snowflake, you only want to fill your snowflake to halfway. Or if you're using a different style mold, you only want to fill it to halfway, because that we want to have room for our add-ins. Since we're adding it right here in place, this gives us control over adding like each color only where we want it. So I'm going to add red to one area. As best I can to just that one section. And then I'll add orange right here next door. I don't know if you can see how small and intricate this foil glitter is. It's almost shaped like little tiny sticks. And then we'll add yellow next door to the orange. And then we'll add some green. Woo, that's splashed right out, but that's okay. And then some blue. And then finally purple. That was a ton. Okay. That's okay. So then what you want to do is just take one of your favorite tools and just start spreading it around in that same area of that color. And you can add more and more and more if you want, however you want it to look. And you can clean your tool with paper towel if it bothers you to get, the colors mixed. I really didn't let that bother me. I kind of let the next door neighbors, mix in with each other. I thought it made kind of a neat rainbow situation, but mostly I'm trying to get this glitter that's on the top surface of the mold down in the crevices, because I don't want those glitters to be wasted by not, being in place. So just moving them all around. And because we only filled the mold halfway, this gives us way more ability to really get in here and move this stuff around. If you filled it all the way to level, you'd be having a lot of trouble with everything splashing out. And there's no need for that. Just fill halfway with your liquid, and then you've got all this room, to work your glitter into place. And then we can always backfill with more liquid Sculpey to make it full. So just turn your tool sideways and drag the glitters right where you want them. And that one we already did, but there's some pieces out here that could use some glitter. So I'll just drag it into there with my needle tool. This also helps pop bubbles if they come up. Your needle tool is right there handy. All right, now just double check that you've got this. I got no orange out here, so I'll just drag some in. And I need a little yellow out this way. And I need some more green in this area. So the crazy thing about this snowflake mold was once I started filling it with things, I just kept thinking of more ways to fill it and more unique and wonderful possibilities. And I just really had a lot of fun with it. I even found a whole baggie of old beads I had saved from my wedding that I used in my wedding trousseau. And so I embedded them in liquid Sculpey in one of these ornaments. That way it became those 30-year-old beads became now part of a keepsake. And I wasn't using them, so I just threw them in the liquid Sculpey, and that turned out to be kind of a neat way to have a treasured memory. Okay, so there's that one. I've got it filled with 6 different colors, and I'll do my tap, tap, tapping. And some of my stray glitters are getting out there, but that's okay. Now, for the last part, what I did was I actually went back and I filled all these little cavities with more clear liquid. And that way it made the snowflake itself a lot stronger to be filled all the way to the top. You don't want to leave it halfway filled. That's just to help you get your design worked out. So if you want to go back in and fill to level with the clear, then that is a really good way to do it, because then it will be as strong as it can be and as thick as it can be. So just backfill with your clear. And then that's ready to go into the oven with the other ornaments. So we've got 3 there all ready to go into the oven. I'll probably tap this a few more times before I send it in, just to make sure it's all evenly distributed. Let those little glitter sticks kind of, fill up as well. So I'm going to tap this a few more times. All right, then those can all be baked. Now, when they come out, you can either add a jump ring to them, or you can put a ribbon right through one of the open cavities in the ornament itself. This one has kind of a lot of messy parts here on the back, but that doesn't bother me too much, because when you look through it, it's really shiny and clear, and you can just see those beautiful colors, and it'll look really pretty with lights shining through it. So Jen, can you think of anything else I need to cover with Liquid Sculpey or with Sculpey 3?
Maybe just hitting it with a heat gun and clear.
Yeah, okay, so Jen brought up the fact that if you want to, sometimes after you've baked a project like this, if it didn't get as clear, if it looks a little foggy, you can demold it just like this one is, and you can set it on a heat safe pan. And this would be before you've added the ribbon. And you can take a heat gun and just run over the top of it, moving your heat constantly back and forth. And that will also really bring up the shine and the clarity of the clear Liquid Sculpey. And a heat gun used on the colors, like the metallic colors, like navy metallic, pearl, and peacock pearl. The heat gun, if you use a little added heat to them, and I'm talking just a few seconds of heat, you'll just see the mica come to a real shiny finish, and it will even deepen the colors in the metallics as well. So anything else, Jen?
No, no
Okay,
questions.
well, let me talk to my people face to face.
Okay.
So these projects are uploaded on Sculpey.com. There's going to be step-by-step instructions and tutorial. They're all spelled out for you. You might learn best from a video, or you might learn best from a printed PDF. It's all available for you for free on Sculpey.com. I'd love to have you download the projects and do them at your own free leisure time, and take your time and work through them, and you can really learn all the different techniques and tricks. Also, Jen, are we going to be able to post?
Yeah, this will be up on YouTube tomorrow.
Great. So tomorrow, you can check our YouTube channel for this exact same video. You can rewatch it, and the supply list is attached.
There is
maybe?
one question.
Yes.
So someone would like to know, is it a heat gun or can you use a blow dryer?
No, it is a heat gun. And personally, I use my husband's Milwaukee heat gun that I stole from his woodworking shop. So it's a very high powered heat gun. I had the chemist here test it, and it goes up over 400 degrees. And so we're talking about just a little heat, 4 to 6 inches away from the surface. I don't feel a blow dryer will get that warm. So it is sort of a do-it-yourself home store style heat gun that people use for all kinds of do-it-yourself, projects that I use. It has only a high and a low setting, and I just put it on high, and I just go until I see it really shine, and then I remove the heat as quickly as possible, because you can burn it. You don't want to burn it. So it's just to bring up the shine, and then you're done. So thanks for that question. So
that's it.
Anything else? All right. So check out tomorrow's Sculpey YouTube channel, and you can watch this video again and again. And I wish you all the best, and thanks for joining us. If you post to social media your creations, please use the hashtag Sculpey or How Do You Sculpey. And we'd love to see what you've made, and we'd love to follow you on social media. And I'm sure you'll inspire us even more than we've possibly inspired you. So peace out and have a good evening. Thanks for joining us.